Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our Arabic lesson. It's the lesson number 2. We have already learned that lesson number 1 of the verbal sentences. For the last few days, we are learning about the verbal sentences in Arabic. You can note our address also, bukharihamid786 at the rate of gmail.com. So dear students, in our first lesson, we talked about the formula, the Haamid's tool, my own formula, to know the different verb forms. For example, the verbs used with the third person masculine and third person feminine, and the verbs used with the second person, verbs used with the first person. So we have devised our tool that's called Haamid's tool. The first tool was, the tool is which we have to study the second lesson. The tool is awattan, na. And then there was ta, tuma, tum. This is the second tool. The first tool we have read that at the first place, it's always the it's always the masculine, it's always the masculine third person singular at the first place. When we add that alif to that, it becomes for duals, and when we waw to that, it becomes for plurals. And then the second part is for the feminine one. And now the second part, always I said that the first part of the tool is always for the masculine, and the second part is always for the feminine. But this is only the one part that is for the masculine. So tatumatum, we have chosen the word for our lesson, that was kataba. That was kataba. But if we add now to this very ta, and when there is ta, this becomes silent here, which was by mistake. We talked to this very silent alphabet in case of third person, in case of third person feminine singular. There it was katabat. Now it is katabta. It's the second person singular, and the first part is always for the singular, which I discussed here. So if I write here katabta, it means you wrote. You wrote. And then the same kataba is there, and if I add the second part, I always said that when it's second part, it's always for duals. It's always for duals, that is for two persons. So I have to write here, I can say katabtuma, katabtuma. It becomes you two wrote, you two wrote. And the same thing is, then it's tum. When we add this to katab, it becomes katabtum. So here, katabtum, it means you all wrote. We are doing the past tense, you all wrote. These are the verbal sentences. We are not yet doing the past indefinite, which is, this is exactly the affirmative part of the past indefinite, but exactly we can put them in verbal sentences. So this was the tool here, that in first place is for singular, second is for duals, and the third one is for plurals. This is completed for the masculine, now it's for the feminine. It's for the feminine. Is Titumatum. Titumatum. So the tool is for now the feminine. Maybe in many videos it's for the dear students, because I'm the English trainer as well. In many of the videos I say feminine, which is not exactly, I'm being used to use the word the feminine. The exact pronunciation of the word is feminine, and it's masculine. So the tool is for the second person feminine. How can we use it here? The first part of this feminine part is for the singular, and the second is for the duals, and the third is for the plurals. But here is the difference. It is tituma. It was in case of masculine. In case of masculine, it was tum. Here, there is a difference. It is here tunna. It's here tunna. It becomes tituma tunna. So the two is this. The first one is this. The word for our word is this kataba, and if we add this t here, it becomes silent. When I said that when we have to add the second person, this part for the verb to make the verb as the second person for the feminine, we write is katabat, katabta, and for the feminine it is katabte. So it becomes katabte. It means she wrote. She wrote. Katabte. So for the second part is for the duals, and when we add this dual to this part, it becomes, see now the word is there, it becomes katabtuma. Katabtuma. For the dual masculine and dual feminine is the same there. And now katabtuma, it means they too wrote. They, I wrote here she. Sorry sir. Sorry, it's you. Maybe what we wrote there in case of second person masculine. Maybe if I wrote there he, it's you. It's you, and it's now you wrote. You girl wrote. Now you two wrote. You two wrote. And then for the third person, the second person. It's for the plural, feminine is tuna, and if we add this katab, then it's tuna, it becomes they, no they, please, it's you all wrote. So the second tool, our formula is for the second person. It was the second person plural and second person singular, second person duals. Both for the masculine and for the feminine. The tool is tatumatum for the masculine, and for the feminine is titumatunna. So if I add this is kata ba, then we add this ta, it becomes katabta, you wrote, and then becomes katabtuma, you two wrote, and katabtum, you all wrote. Maybe I don't know in the lesson whether we use he or she, that's the third person. Maybe it's by mistake, but you read it like you wrote. And then there is katabte, then is you wrote, but it's for the feminine, and then katabtuma, you two wrote, and then katabtuna, you all wrote. Now is the case of the tool for the first person. Tool for the first person. First person, as you know, is I and with. So the tool is there, tuna. This tuna is for both masculine and for the feminine. So the word for us is this kataba, and when we add this to here, it becomes silent or sakin here, and it becomes katabtu. That means it becomes katabtu. It means I wrote. I wrote. Katabtu. Al-sabura. I wrote on the boat. So katabtu. Then if I add this kataba plus na, it becomes, sorry, it's katabna, we all wrote. So we'll evaluate our lesson today. What we read today is the lesson number 2 of the verbal sentence in case of past. We discussed our tools. Our tool was the Haamid's tool, my own tool, to learn the verb forms for the pronouns. So it was done by the tool. It was, I will repeat, the tool is, yes, it's awatan, and then it's tatumatun, and then it's titumatunna, and then it's tuna. And it was the second person today. The lesson started with the second person. Then we discussed there. If I have to say that you wrote for a masculine, it is katabta. And when we have to say you two wrote, it is katabtuma. And when you all wrote, it's katabtum. Then we discussed the formula, the tool for the feminine, and it was tetumatunna, and it becomes katabte. The first, we always remember the first part. The first part is for the singular, the second is for the dual, and the third one is for the plural. Then it becomes katabti, that is the first part of the tool. It becomes you wrote as a woman. And then it's katabtuma, you two wrote. Then katabtunna, you all wrote. Then it was for the first person, that is I and we. And for I it's tu, and for we it's na. And when we add these things to our these verbs, they change the form of the verb. Like katabtu, I wrote, and katabna, we wrote. So it was our lesson. Don't neglect to join us on Facebook, and we already mentioned our address. You can again note our address, that is bukharihamid786@gmail.com. I request my all viewers, I request all students throughout the world that please every suggestion. We always discuss these things, that every suggestion will be considered, whether we have to change the pattern of our lesson, the pattern of our teaching, the way to demonstrate the lesson, or the way to have the demonstration of our tools. I will always add your suggestions as the good part of the learning on my part as well. Till then, ma'as salama, see you in the next lecture.